Creators, protectors, destroyers. This is Vaksh, where the gods speak.
I am Rama, king of Ayodhya, son of Dasharatha, the bearer of a bow that bends only to Dharma. But do not mistake me for a mere prince or a ruler of men. My story is not bound by time, nor is it confined to the earth. I have walked this land as a man, yet I am beyond mortality. I have suffered, yet I remain untouched by sorrow. I have fought battles, yet I seek no victory. I was born, yet I have always existed. You ask who is Rama? But to understand me, you must first look beyond the world you see. You must journey back to a time before time itself. Before creation unfolded, before the first breath of existence stirred the cosmic ocean, I was there. I have no beginning, nor an end, for I am but a manifestation of the eternal, an incarnation of Vishnu, the preserver of all that is righteous, the protector of balance, the guardian of Dharma. When the weight of Dharma grows too heavy, when the cries of the innocent go unheard, when darkness spreads unchecked, the cosmic order calls for restoration. And so, I descend. I take form among mortals, yet I am not bound by mortality. I walk among men, yet I am not like them. I am Rama, the seventh incarnation of Vishnu, born to re-establish righteousness, to remind the world of truth, to show the path of devotion and duty. But why Rama? Why this form? Why this journey? Because Dharma is not just upheld through power, it must be upheld through example. A god wielding divine force is one thing, but a man walking the path of righteousness, through pain, through exile, through war, and yet never wavering, that is where true Dharma is shown. That is why I came as Rama, to show the world not just the might of a god, but the strength of unwavering virtue. And so, I was born in the grand kingdom of Ayodhya, to King Dasharatha and Queen Kaushalya, as a prince who would one day take the throne. But destiny had other plans. My story was never about ruling a kingdom. It was about walking a path that the world would remember for eternity. The kingdom of Ayodhya was vast and prosperous, its people devoted to Dharma, yet its king, Dasharatha, carried a sorrow too heavy to bear. He had wealth, wisdom, and power, but he lacked one thing, an heir. The halls of his palace echoed with prayers, the temples were filled with offerings, and sages were called upon to seek the favor of the gods. Moved by his devotion, the celestial beings heard his plea. The great sage Rishi Shringa performed the sacred Putrakameshti Yajna, and from the flames of that divine ritual emerged a golden vessel, holding the sacred nectar of life. A voice echoed from the heavens, "Let the queens drink this, and the sons destined to shape the fate of the world shall be born." Thus, I came into being, born to Kaushalya as her eldest son. My brothers, Bharata, Lakshmana, and Shatrughna, followed, each carrying a purpose, each bound to my journey in ways unseen. But even as I lay in the cradle of the royal palace, my essence was far beyond that of a mere prince. I was not just Dasharatha's son. I was the eternal force of Vishnu, bound in human form, awaiting the moment when destiny would call me to fulfill my purpose. From my childhood, Dharma was my guide. I was trained in the art of war, yet my hands were never raised in anger. I learned the scriptures, yet I never used wisdom for arrogance. I wielded weapons, yet I sought no conflict. My strength was not in my arms, but in my resolve. A king is not made by the throne he sits upon. He is made by the burdens he carries, by the sacrifices he makes, by the way he holds Dharma above all else. And this was the path I walked, long before I knew the trials that awaited me. Even then, the wheels of fate were turning. My journey had begun, though I did not yet see the road ahead. And soon, the first test of my destiny would arrive, the moment that would mark the beginning of my true purpose. Fate does not whisper, it calls with a voice that cannot be ignored. My journey, though hidden in the simplicity of my princely life, was about to take its first great turn. It was in Mithila, the land of King Janaka, that my destiny awaited me. bound in a bow too mighty for mortal hands. King Janaka was no ordinary ruler. He was a man of wisdom, a seeker of truth. And his daughter Sita was no ordinary princess. She was born of the earth itself, a divine being, destined to walk beside me through trials no ordinary soul could endure. But her hand was not to be given lightly. Janaka had vowed that only the one who could lift and string the bow of Shiva would be worthy of marrying Sita. That bow, gifted by Mahadeva himself, was no weapon for an ordinary warrior. Kings, princes, and warriors from across the land had come, each hoping to prove their strength, yet none could even move it from its resting place. The earth itself seemed to hold it in place, refusing to yield to those unworthy. And so, the challenge remained unanswered until the moment I stepped forward. As I approached, the silence in the court deepened. Whispers filled the air. Could a prince so young truly succeed where great warriors had failed? But I did not come to prove my strength. I came to fulfill what was already written. My hands touched the bow, and in that instant, I felt the power within it. It was not resistance I felt, it was recognition. The bow had waited, not for force, but for one who carried the divine purpose. With ease I lifted it. With grace I placed the string. And as I pulled, the heavens trembled. A thunderous crack echoed across the halls. The bow of Shiva had broken. The test was over. My destiny and Sita's were sealed as one. In that moment, I had not just won a bride. I had taken my first step into a path that would test my every belief. A path of love, exile, war, and sacrifice. But even then, I did not know how soon that test would begin. Happiness is fleeting, like the morning mist before the rising sun. I returned to Ayodhya, bound in sacred vows to Sita, my heart at peace. My father, King Dasharatha, looked upon me with pride, for the time had come to fulfill the promise he had long held in his heart, to crown me as the rightful king of Kosala. The people rejoiced, and the city was adorned in celebration. But fate, ever unpredictable, had other plans. Keiki, my father's beloved queen, once full of love and warmth, had been poisoned by a venomous thought. Her maid, Manthara, whispered words of fear and greed into her heart. If Rama is crowned, Bharata will be forgotten. And so a mother's love turned to ambition, and she sought from Dasharatha a promise he could not refuse. Long ago, in a moment of valor, my father had sworn to grant her 2 boons of her choosing, and now she called upon them. The first, that Bharata, not the first, would ascend the throne. The second, that I be banished to the forest for 14 years, stripped of my royal claim, far from my people, my palace, my home. When these words fell upon my father's ears, he was shattered. A man of honor, yet a father torn apart, bound by duty, yet drowning in sorrow. He called for me, his eyes filled with a pain deeper than the vastest ocean. But my heart did not waver. This was not a curse, nor was it misfortune. It was simply the will of destiny. I, Rama, son of Dasharatha, prince of Ayodhya, could have refused. I could have fought. But Dharma is not followed when it is easy. It is upheld when it is hardest. A kingdom is not built by the power of a crown, but by the righteousness of its ruler. If my father's word was given, then I would honor it no matter the cost. With a steady voice, I spoke, "Father, grieve not. A throne is not my purpose, nor is royalty my path. I shall leave at once, for the forest shall be my home, and exile my journey." At my side stood Sita, unwavering in her devotion. "Where you walk, my lord, I shall follow," she said. And Lakshmana, my brother, a warrior in heart and soul, declared, "Without you, Ayodhya is nothing to me. Let me walk beside you, to guard you with my life." And so, the 3 of us departed, leaving behind a kingdom, a grieving father, and a fate unknown. As we stepped beyond the gates of Ayodhya, the people wept, the earth itself seemed to sigh, and my father, heartbroken beyond words, fell into despair. He would not live to see my return. But this too was fate, for the journey ahead was not one of a prince, but of a man who would walk the path of righteousness, tested by gods, demons, and destiny itself. The forests of Dandaka were vast and untamed, stretching beyond the sight of any mortal king. Towering trees whispered secrets of the ancient world. Rivers flowed like veins of the earth itself, and the air carried the scent of untouched wilderness. But beneath this beauty lurked danger, for the forests were not unclaimed. They were ruled by forces far older than kingdoms, forces that thrived in the shadows, beyond the reach of Dharma. For years, Sita, Lakshmana, and I walked this sacred exile, our home no longer of stone and gold, but of leaves and open sky. The sages of the forests welcomed us, their wisdom deep, their lives dedicated to the eternal pursuit of truth. But even they were not untouched by the darkness that spread its roots here. Rakshasas roamed these lands, creatures of chaos and cruelty, their hearts bent on destruction, their hunger never satisfied. One such demon was Virata, a beast of monstrous strength, his body impervious to weapons, his voice like thunder. He descended upon us, his eyes burning with malice, his arms stretching wide like the shadows of the night. Who dares enter my domain? He roared, his laughter shaking the ground beneath our feet. Lakshmana, ever the warrior, unsheathed his sword, but I raised a hand to still him. I looked upon the demon, not with fear, but with the gaze of one who knows his purpose. I am Rama of Ayodhya, I declared, my voice steady as the earth beneath me. And this land is not yours to claim. With a fury beyond measure, Virata lunged, his claws slicing through the air. Our weapons struck, but they met only flesh that would not yield. The battle raged, the very trees trembling under our struggle. But no creature, no matter how strong, stands beyond the reach of destiny. Lakshmana and I subdued him, bound him, and cast him into the depths of the earth itself, where his curse was broken and his soul freed from the darkness that bound him. The sages blessed us, their gratitude vast, but this was only the beginning. The deeper we traveled into exile, the greater the forces we would face. Demons were not the only tests before us. Love, duty, and sacrifice would soon demand their due. And then, as the sun set upon yet another day of our journey, we came upon a place where time itself seemed to pause, where the rivers whispered of legends yet to be written. It was there that we would meet the one who would change the course of our exile forever. A woman of unmatched power, a force of divine will, Surpanakha. Fate moves like a river, carving its course through the hardest stone. And in the depths of the Dandaka forest, fate brought us face to face with the spark that would ignite a war unlike any other. Her name was Surpanakha, a name that would become the echo of destruction, the whisper that would reach Lanka's throne. She came as the wind does, sudden and without warning. Her eyes, filled with hunger, beheld me with a desire that was not born of love, but of possession. Who are you, O mighty prince, who walks these forests like a god among men? She asked, her voice dripping with curiosity and temptation. I spoke plainly, for truth is the only answer to deceit. I am Rama, son of Dasharatha, exiled from my kingdom, walking the path of Dharma with my wife Sita and my brother Lakshmana. But Surpanakha cared not for words of righteousness. She saw only what she wanted. Forsake this woman of frail beauty, she urged, her eyes narrowing upon Sita. Take me as your wife instead. Together we shall rule these forests, and you shall know power beyond measure. I smiled not in amusement, but in understanding. O lady, my heart belongs to one alone, and no force in the heavens or earth can change that. But Surpanakha was not one to accept denial. She turned her gaze upon Sita, her expression twisting from desire to rage. If she is no more, you will have no choice but to turn to me. And with that, she lunged at my beloved, her claws reaching for the one who was the very soul of my being. But fate does not allow darkness to touch light without consequence. Lakshmana, ever watchful, acted in an instant. With a single strike, he severed her nose and ears, casting her to the ground, her screams echoing through the trees. Blood stained the earth, and her cries shook the sky. But it was not pain alone that fueled her wails, it was vengeance. She fled, her heart burning with fury, her mind set upon a single thought: to bring this insult before the one whose wrath could shake the world itself, Ravana. In that moment, we did not know the storm that would soon rise, the war that would be forged in the flames of her hatred. But the wheels of destiny had begun to turn, and there was no stopping them now. From the forests of Dandaka to the golden city of Lanka, the path of Dharma was about to be tested like never before. Far beyond the forests of Dandaka, across the vast ocean, stood a city carved from gold, its towers reaching toward the heavens. Lanka, a kingdom of wealth, power, and darkness. And upon its throne sat the one whose name struck fear into gods and men alike. Ravana, the 10-headed king, ruler of the Rakshasas, master of illusory arts, and bearer of a boon that made him nearly invincible. It was to him that Surpanakha fled, her face bloodied, her pride shattered, her heart burning with vengeance. Before his court, she fell to her knees and wailed, "O mighty king, my brother, see what has been done to me. See how the humans humiliated me, how they defied our power." A mortal prince, Rama, and his wife Sita roamed the forests unchecked, and his brother, Lakshmana, dared to raise a weapon against me. Ravana listened, but he was not a king who acted in blind fury. He had conquered the heavens, brought gods to their knees, and ruled Lanka with absolute power. But when Surpanakha spoke of Sita, his curiosity stirred. Who is this woman that Rama holds above all? Whose beauty makes him blind to all others? The fire of arrogance was ignited within him. If this Sita is so precious, then I shall take her for myself. Let us see if Rama's strength can match my own. With these words, Ravana's fate was sealed. He did not know then that his desire would lead him to ruin, that the path he chose would end in the flames of destruction. But the demon king was cunning. He did not charge into battle, for war is won not only by strength, but by deception. He sought out his most trusted sorcerer, Maricha, a master of illusions, a being of great power who could weave reality itself into falsehoods. "Go to Rama's forest," Ravana commanded, "and lure him away. Once he is gone, Sita shall be mine." And so, the scheme was set in motion. Maricha took the form of a golden deer, its beauty unlike anything the world had seen. It leapt through the forests, its movements graceful, its glow like the setting sun. And when Sita beheld it, her heart was captured by wonder. "Rama," she whispered, "bring me that deer. It is too beautiful to let go." I too felt the strangeness in the air. But love makes fools of even the wise. To deny Sita would be to deny my own heart. And so I pursued the deer, unaware that with every step, I was being led away from the one who meant more to me than my own life. Destiny had laid its trap, and the war of Lanka was about to begin. The golden deer ran like the wind, its hooves barely touching the ground, leading me deeper into the forest. My instincts whispered of danger, but Sita's request echoed in my heart. I pursued it, my arrows ready, my mind sharp. And then, in a flash, I struck. The arrow pierced the illusion, and in its place, Maricha fell, his true form revealed. But before death took him, he let out a cry in my voice. "Lakshmana!" "Sita!" The deceit was complete. The call, filled with pain, reached Sita's ears, and fear gripped her heart. "Lakshmana, your brother is in danger. Go to him now." But Lakshmana, wise and loyal, hesitated. "My lady, no harm can come to Rama. This is a trick, a trap to leave you alone." But her eyes, filled with desperation, pierced his soul. "If you do not go, and he is harmed, I will never forgive you." And so, bound by duty and love, Lakshmana left, though his heart knew the danger that lurked in the shadows. And then he came. Ravana, the king of Lanka, disguised as a simple ascetic, approached Sita's hut. "O lady of divine beauty," alone in this wild forest. Are you not afraid?" he asked, his voice like honey masking the venom beneath. But Sita, devoted and pure, stood firm. "I fear nothing, for my Lord Rama is my protector. No force in the three worlds can touch me as long as his name rests upon my lips." But Ravana was not a mere mortal. In a flash, his disguise fell, and his 10 heads rose high, his 20 arms spreading like the wings of a great demon. "Then let your Rama come and find you," he roared. And with a force that shook the heavens, he seized her, lifting her into his golden chariot, soaring into the sky as the earth trembled beneath them. The birds cried out, the trees wept, and the rivers roared in fury, but no one could stop the demon king. Lanka's gates awaited, and with them, the chains of captivity. Sita, the purest of souls, the heart of Dharma itself, was taken. The war had begun. And I, Rama, returned to find emptiness where my world had once stood. The forest, once alive with the songs of birds and the whispers of the wind, stood silent. The air was thick with sorrow, and the earth beneath my feet felt hollow. Sita was gone. My heart, the very essence of my being, had been torn away. But despair was not my path. Dharma called, and I would answer. No force in this universe could keep me from her. Lakshmana stood beside me, his eyes burning with guilt and rage. "We will find her, my brother," he vowed, his hand gripping his bow with renewed determination. And so, our journey began. Through dense forests and vast rivers, across towering mountains and endless lands, we searched. But the world is vast, and even the mightiest of warriors must seek allies in times of war. It was in the kingdom of Kishkinda that fate brought us to one who would change the course of destiny, Hanuman, the son of the wind, the mightiest among the Vanaras. He came before me, his form radiating power, yet his heart overflowing with devotion. "O Rama," he said, kneeling before me, "my soul recognizes your greatness, and my life is yours to command." In that moment, I saw not just a warrior, but a brother in spirit, one whose strength was matched only by his faith. And with Hanuman came Sugriva, the rightful king of Kishkinda, who too had suffered at the hands of evil. "Help me reclaim my throne," Sugriva pleaded, "and in return, I will dedicate my armies to your cause." Justice and duty aligned, and with a single strike, I ended the tyrant valley, restoring Sugriva to his kingdom. And true to his word, the Vanaras became my allies. But it was Hanuman who would carry the first flame of hope. With boundless energy and unwavering devotion, he leaped across the ocean itself, reaching the golden city of Lanka. Disguised, unseen, he moved through the streets, until at last he found her, Sita, imprisoned in the Ashoka Grove, surrounded by demons, yet unbroken in spirit. "O Mother," Hanuman whispered, revealing himself, "Rama is coming. Hold strong, for his arrows will soon pierce the heart of Lanka." Sita, though frail in body, stood firm in resolve. "Tell my lord I remain pure, untouched by Ravana's evil. I wait for him, as the moon awaits the sun." Hanuman's heart burned with fury. He could have destroyed Lanka in that moment, but his mission was not war, it was message. And so, with Lanka in flames behind him, he returned. The path was clear, the battle was near. The ocean lay before us, and on the other side, Lanka awaited. The ocean stretched before me, vast and endless, its waves roaring like a mighty beast. Across these waters lay Lanka, the fortress of Ravana, the prison of my beloved Sita. My heart burned with urgency, but even the strongest of warriors cannot fight the sea. I stood on its shores, the wind howling around me, and I did what the righteous always do in times of trial. I prayed. "O mighty ocean, vast and ancient, I seek only passage, not war. Grant us a path to Lanka, so that Dharma may be upheld and evil vanquished." But the waves did not still, nor did the waters part. My patience waned, for time was precious, and Sita's suffering grew with every moment. Anger surged within me like a storm, and I lifted my bow, ready to unleash an arrow of divine fire that would burn the very ocean dry. But before my wrath could be loosed, the ocean god himself arose, his form towering above the waves, his voice deep as the depths of the sea. O Rama, I do not defy you, nor do I wish to halt your purpose. But water is my very being, I cannot cease to flow. However, I will guide you. There is one who can aid you in this task. Call upon Nala, son of Vishwakarma, for he possesses the power to build what no man can. And so Nala stepped forward, his heart filled with purpose. O Rama, with the strength of the Vanaras and the blessings of the divine, we shall build a bridge to Lanka one that not even the mightiest waves can break. And so it began. With their bare hands, the Vanaras lifted mountains, tore trees from their roots, and cast mighty stones into the sea. But these were not ordinary stones, for upon each we inscribed the name of the Lord, and the very power of Dharma made them float. One by one, the rocks formed a path, stretching further and further, until at last it reached the golden shores of Lanka. The bridge was complete, and the time for war had come. The Vanaras stood ready, their eyes burning with resolve. Hanuman, his mighty form shining with divine strength, led the charge. Sugriva, my loyal ally, stood by my side, his warriors prepared for battle. Lakshmana, ever steadfast, gripped his bow, his heart filled with fury for the injustice done to Sita. And I, Rama, son of Dasharatha, prince of Ayodhya, walked upon the bridge, my arrows ready, my soul unshaken. Ravana's doom was written in fate, and I would be the hand to deliver it. The earth trembled with our march. Lanka, the city of gold, now stood on the brink of destruction. The war for Dharma had begun, and I would not leave without Sita. The golden city of Lanka stood before us, its towering walls and mighty gates shielding the dark heart within. But no fortress, no army, no sorcery could stop the march of Dharma. The time for words had passed, the time for battle had come. With a single command, the war drums roared, shaking the heavens. The Vanaras, fierce and unyielding, surged forward like a mighty storm, their roars shaking the earth. The Rakshasas, creatures of darkness, met them with fury, their weapons gleaming, their eyes burning with hatred. The clash of steel rang through the skies, the air thick with the cries of warriors, the scent of dust and fire filling the battlefield. Lakshmana fought like the storm itself, his arrows striking true, each one a bolt of righteous fury. Hanuman, with the strength of 1,000 warriors, tore through the enemy ranks, his mighty hands shattering weapons, his feet shaking the very ground. Sugriva, the king of the Vanaras, battled with relentless rage, his roars drowning the screams of the Rakshasas. And I, Rama, stood at the heart of the battlefield, my bow raised, my arrows aflame with celestial power, striking down the wicked wherever they stood. But Ravana had prepared for war. His generals, warriors of great power, emerged from the shadows. Kumbhakarna, the monstrous titan, a mountain of destruction, awoke from his slumber and waded into the battlefield, crushing warriors beneath his feet. Indrajit, the dark sorcerer, son of Ravana, weaved illusions, making the battlefield a place of nightmares. He vanished into thin air, striking from the unseen, his arrows laced with venom, his magic bending reality itself. And then, the unthinkable happened. Indrajit's arrow, blessed by dark sorcery, struck Lakshmana. My brother, my strength, my heart, fell to the ground. Time seemed to stop, the battlefield blurred. Lakshmana lay still, his breath weak, his skin turning cold. Rage unlike anything I had known filled me, but anger could not save my brother. I turned to Hanuman, whose devotion burned as brightly as his power. Go, I commanded, fly to the mountains of the north, bring the herb of life, save my brother. And Hanuman, the mighty, the unstoppable, leaped into the sky, his form breaking through the clouds, racing against death itself. The battle raged on, but my heart beat only for Lakshmana. I could not lose him. Not now, not ever. The battlefield was drenched in blood. the sky darkened by the smoke of war. Warriors fell, weapons clashed, and cries of battle echoed across the land. But my heart was heavy with only one thought: Lakshmana. He lay still, his breath weak, the life slipping from him like sand through my fingers. Then, like a comet tearing through the heavens, Hanuman returned. In his hands he carried not a single herb, but an entire mountain, so vast, so powerful, that even the gods watched in awe. I could not find the herb, Hanuman declared, so I brought the whole mountain instead. Such was his devotion, such was his strength. The sacred Sanjivani herb was found, and with its divine power, Lakshmana awoke. My brother, my strength, my soul, he had returned to me. And with him, my fury was rekindled. But the war was not yet won. From the gates of Lanka, the demon king emerged. Ravana, mighty, fearsome, his 10 heads burning with unholy fire, his 20 arms holding weapons blessed by dark forces. He did not march to battle. He did not speak. He stormed onto the battlefield like a hurricane, his presence alone shaking the earth beneath us. The warriors around me stepped back, fear gripping their hearts. But I stood unmoved, my bow in my hands, my purpose unshaken. This was the moment fate had written, the final clash between darkness and Dharma. I raised my bow, and he raised his. The sky itself trembled, for even the heavens knew that one of us would not leave this battlefield alive. Our arrows met in the air, striking with such force that the earth split apart. The winds howled, the waves in the ocean rose as if in terror. Each of his 10 heads laughed, each voice filled with arrogance. You are a mere man, Rama. You cannot kill me. But he had underestimated the power of Dharma. His illusionary tricks, his celestial weapons, his monstrous strength, none of it could shake me. I was not just a warrior, I was justice. I was fate itself. One by one, I destroyed his weapons. One by one, I struck down his arms. And yet, each time I severed a head, another took its place. He was powerful, yes, but his arrogance blinded him to the truth. He was not invincible. The time had come to end this once and for all. I called upon the divine weapon, the Brahmastra, an arrow infused with the essence of ultimate destruction. It gleamed in my hands, filled with the power of the gods, burning with the light of absolute righteousness. I aimed, not at his heads, not at his arms, but at the source of his strength, his heart, blessed with the boon that made him nearly immortal. I released the arrow, and time itself seemed to halt. It flew like a streak of lightning, cutting through the sky, piercing through his chest. For a moment, silence. And then, the great demon king staggered. His weapons fell, his head drooped, his eyes widened in disbelief. And as he fell, Lanka trembled, the heavens opened, and the world itself seemed to exhale, relieved of the burden of his tyranny. Ravana, the lord of demons, the king of Lanka, was no more. The mighty Ravana had fallen. The battlefield stood still, the echoes of war fading into silence. The winds, once howling with rage, now whispered through the ruins of Lanka. The darkness that had gripped the land had been lifted, and Dharma had prevailed. But my heart was not yet at peace. There was one last step, one final moment that awaited me. Through the gates of Lanka, guarded no longer by demons, I walked toward the palace where Sita had been kept in captivity. My beloved, my queen, had endured the torment of separation, the agony of imprisonment, the suffering of Ravana's twisted desires. But she had remained untouched, her devotion unshaken, her purity as radiant as the rising sun. And now she was free. She emerged, her eyes searching for me, her presence as luminous as the moon. The moment should have been one of pure joy, of unbreakable reunion. But duty and honor stood in my way. The world had watched as she was taken. The world had whispered doubts in hushed voices. Could I, Rama, a king who upholds Dharma above all, ignore those whispers? My voice was steady, but my heart trembled as I spoke. Sita, I have fought this war to fulfill my duty. I have rescued you. But a shadow lingers. The world must know, beyond doubt, that you are pure, untouched by the hands of Ravana. You must prove it, not for me, but for Dharma itself. A silence heavier than war settled upon the land. The Vanaras, my brother, my allies, all watched in disbelief. But Sita did not waver. Her eyes, filled not with pain, but with a quiet fire, met mine. If my heart, my soul, my love has remained true to you, then let Agni, the sacred fire, bear witness. And without fear, without hesitation, she stepped into the blazing flames. The fire roared, engulfing her in golden light. Gasps filled the air, eyes filled with horror. But I stood, unwavering, for I knew the truth. And then, as if the flames themselves bowed before her, Agni, the very deity of fire, emerged, carrying her in his embrace. "O Rama," he declared, "Sita is pure, untouched, a goddess among mortals. No fire can harm her, for her heart burns with devotion greater than any flame." And in that moment, the world knew. The whispers were silenced, the doubts were erased. Sita, my queen, my love, had proven her divinity, her purity, her unwavering devotion. I took her hand, and together we stood reunited not just as husband and wife, but as symbols of righteousness, of truth, of an eternal love bound by Dharma itself. With Sita by my side, with Lakshmana, Hanuman, and my devoted army behind me, I turned my gaze towards the horizon. The land of Lanka, once a place of suffering, had been freed from darkness. Vibhishana, Ravana's noble brother, had taken the throne, ensuring the rule of righteousness. Our task in Lanka was complete, but our journey was not over. Ayodhya awaited. The Pushpaka Vimana, the celestial chariot of Kubra, was offered to us. With a heart full of longing, I stepped aboard. The sky opened before us, the winds carried us forward, and as we soared above the vast lands of Bharat, my heart swelled with memories. The exile, the forests, the battles, all of it had led to this moment. I turned to Sita, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I saw her smile not as a queen in captivity, but as a woman returning home. As we neared Ayodhya, my heart raced. Bharata, my dear brother, had ruled in my name for 14 years, his love for me so deep that he lived as an ascetic, refusing the throne. What had time done to my people? Would they still see me as their king, or had I become a stranger to the land I loved? But as we descended, as our feet touched the sacred soil of Ayodhya, the answer was clear. A sea of people awaited, their eyes brimming with tears, their voices rising in unison. Jai Shri Rama! Flowers rained upon us, conchs blew, the very earth seemed to tremble with joy. Bharata rushed to me, tears streaming down his face, and placed my sandals at my feet. "The throne is yours, my brother," he whispered. It always was. I embraced him, my heart overwhelmed with love. The streets of Ayodhya shone with golden lights, the air was filled with music, and the city pulsed with the rhythm of celebration. The grand halls of the palace, once empty, now echoed with laughter, devotion, and festivity. And then, the moment arrived, the coronation, the return of Dharma to its rightful seat. As I sat upon the throne of my ancestors, as the sacred waters were poured upon me in Abhishekam, as the crown of Kasala was placed upon my head, I felt not pride, but duty. A king is not a ruler, he is a servant of his people, a protector of righteousness. And in that moment, I vowed to uphold Dharma, to serve my people with truth, with honor, with unwavering devotion. Sita sat beside me, the queen of Ayodhya, the embodiment of purity and strength. My brothers stood with me, bound by love, by sacrifice, by an unbreakable bond. And Hanuman, my dearest devotee, knelt before me, not as a servant, but as a symbol of the highest devotion, a devotion that surpassed even the gods themselves. Thus began the golden era of Ram Raja, a time of peace, of justice, of prosperity. The kingdom flourished, the people thrived, and Dharma reigned supreme. But fate, as always, had more trials in store for me. The story of Rama was not yet over. My life was never meant to be one of ease. It was a path of sacrifice, of duty, of unwavering resolve. Ayodhya flourished, and Dharma ruled the land. The golden age of Ram Rajya had begun. My people were happy, my brothers stood by my side, and Sita, my queen, my love, sat beside me, radiating grace and wisdom. But fate is never still. A king's duty is never truly complete. Even in the heart of peace, shadows can creep in. And so, the greatest test of my life awaited. Word reached me, whispers in the streets, murmurs in the marketplaces. Doubts, suspicions. Some among my people, those who had not seen the trial of fire, questioned Sita's purity. She was in Lanka for too long, they said. Can a woman who lived in another man's palace truly remain untouched? The weight of these words bore down upon me like a mountain. I, who had fought an entire war for my beloved, who had seen the gods themselves testify to her purity, now stood powerless before the judgment of my own people. Dharma. It is not just the path we choose, but the burden we carry. A king must lead without doubt, without hesitation. He must be beyond reproach, for his people look to him as their guide. And so, my heart breaking, I made the most painful decision of my life. One night, as the moon cast its cold light upon the palace, I called Lakshmana to my side. Take Sita, I said, my voice steady though my soul trembled. Escort her to the ashram of sage Valmiki. She shall live there, away from the palace, away from the whispers of doubt. Not because I question her purity, but because my people do. Lakshmana looked at me, horror in his eyes. Brother, no. She has done nothing wrong. How can you send away the one you love? But duty stood above love. It always had. And so he obeyed, his heart as heavy as mine. Sita, my Sita, was cast away, not by my will, but by the weight of Dharma itself. And as she left, I did not stop her. I did not even turn to watch her go. For if I had, my resolve would have shattered. Years passed. The kingdom thrived, yet my heart remained empty. My throne was full, yet I was alone. And then one day, fate brought us together again. A great yagna was to be performed, a sacred ritual for the prosperity of the land. The sages declared that a queen's presence was needed. And it was then that I learned the truth. Sita had given birth to two sons, Lava and Kusha, my blood, my heirs. Raised in the forest, nurtured by Valmiki's wisdom, they had grown into warriors as noble as the sun itself. But they knew not who I was. Fate wove its threads tightly. My sons came to Ayodhya, not as princes, but as wandering bards, singing tales of Rama's life, of my life. Their voices carried through the halls of my court, their words piercing deeper than any arrow. And as they sang, I knew this was not just a song. This was destiny unfolding. At last, Sita was summoned. Before all, before the sages and the gods, I looked upon her once more. Time had not dimmed her radiance. She stood strong, her head high, her eyes unwavering. But I saw the sorrow she bore, the wounds unseen yet carved deep into her soul. And then, in a voice steady as the earth itself, she spoke. I have nothing left to prove. If I have remained pure, if my love for Rama has never wavered, then let Mother Earth herself take me home. The ground trembled, the earth parted, and before my very eyes, Sita, the goddess, the mother, the queen, was taken back into the embrace of the land from which she was born. I reached for her, but she was gone. Gone beyond my grasp, beyond my realm, beyond my sorrow. Silence filled the air, the heavens wept. And I, Rama, the king of Ayodhya, stood alone, my heart heavier than ever before. I had won wars, conquered demons, upheld Dharma, but I had lost the one thing I cherished most. Years passed, and Ayodhya remained a land of prosperity. My people flourished, and Dharma reigned supreme. Yet within me, a void remained, a silence that even the chants of devotion and the cheers of my subjects could not fill. My duty was complete, my rule just, but my heart had long since bid farewell to the joys of this world. I had walked this path alone, bound by the weight of responsibility, but now the time had come to return home. One evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, a presence stirred the air. I felt the call, a whisper that resonated deep within my soul. It was time. The purpose for which Vishnu had descended upon this earth had been fulfilled. I had played my role, upheld the balance, and established righteousness. But now, my mortal form was no longer needed. I gathered my brothers. Bharata, Lakshmana, and Shatrughna stood before me, their eyes filled with reverence, yet sorrow. They had known, just as I had, that this moment would come. "The time has arrived," I told them, my voice steady. "The purpose of my incarnation is complete. I must return to where I belong, to the eternal realm of Vaikuntha." Lakshmana stepped forward, his heart unwilling to part. "Brother, you are Ayodhya's light, the very soul of this kingdom. How can we let you leave?" But Dharma called, and I could not deny its voice. I embraced them one last time, my brothers who had stood by me through every storm, every trial. "Rule wisely, uphold righteousness. Our lineage must always be a beacon for the world." With solemn steps, I walked towards the Sarayu River, where the gods themselves awaited my return. The heavens thundered, the winds whispered hymns, and the waters shimmered in divine anticipation. As I stepped into the sacred river, my mortal form began to fade. The limitations of flesh, the burdens of kingship, the weight of separation, all dissolved like mist in the morning sun. And then, as the waters embraced me, I felt it, the release, the transcendence. The illusion of the world lifted, and I was no longer Rama, the king of Ayodhya. I was Vishnu, the eternal, the preserver, returning to my celestial abode. The gates of Vaikuntha opened, and the divine conch of Narayan echoed through the universe. Thus ended my journey as Rama, but my story shall live on. As long as Dharma stands, as long as hearts seek righteousness, the tale of Rama shall be told, sung in the voices of sages and written in the pages of time itself. For I am not just a king, not just an avatar. I am the embodiment of righteousness, the ideal of duty, the eternal protector of all who walk the path of truth. And so, my beloved devotees, if ever you find yourself lost, if ever the weight of duty feels too heavy, remember, Rama is within you. My story is not just of the past, but of every soul who walks the path of virtue. I am in your prayers, in your devotion, and in the unshakable faith that righteousness shall always prevail. Jai Shri Ram.